Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. But first, let me remind you that PCP can save you money at Dynamic Forces. That's right, just visit dynamicforces.com, enter Robbie at your cart, and save 10%. And this week's pick of the week is Ice Cream Man issue number 26, the long-awaited return of Ice Cream Man. You know, it feels like we get a lot of time in between issues of Ice Cream Man these days, but you know what? I don't care, because whenever it hits, it's like an event. The book never lets me down. This one is once again using the form in a very innovative way. Now, other people have done this. This is a book that's read vertically like this. So you got to flip the book around, and the whole thing is this dude crawling down a tree and talking about the heritage of addiction that he has, addiction and misery that he's inherited from his ancestors, right? From everybody that's come before. So even though there have been plenty of books that have used this kind of format, especially back in the more extreme days of the 90s, think Todd McFarlane, think Rob Liefeld, think Jim Lee, think Mark Silvestri, they would do the centerfold type thing. This one actually utilizes it for a purpose in the story. It all makes one long image. You can lay it all out and it would be one full image. I love this book. What it said about the human experience, what it says about addiction, what it says about carrying the sins of the father, for lack of a better term, I absolutely love it. Nuanced, on point, inspirational at times, and very insightful. That's what Ice Cream Man always is, and it's also always weird, quirky, bittersweet, and haunting. So Ice Cream Man continues to amaze me. And this was a pretty solid week, but this is the one that stood out for me. Ice Cream Man number 26. Also from Image, we have Gunslinger Spawn issue number 1. Supposed to be out last week. There was a delay because of all the printing shortages or whatnot, but it's here, Gunslinger Spawn number 1, and it was pretty awesome. I really liked it. Brett Booth pumping out some of the best artwork of his career, in my opinion. Gunslinger Spawn is like an Old West version of Spawn. It's like The Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood, as if he was Spawn. He's in the future, he's been flung through. He's basically, we're in the Spawnverse, right? So all these different spawns from different times and different dimensions and different worlds and things like that are now converging on this one world. Gunslinger Spawn is one of them. He's still kind of getting used to it. There's a nice little fun bit in here where he thinks his motorcycle's dead. He doesn't know what to do with it. It's just out of gas. It's got some backup stories. Alesh Kott co-wrote one of the backup stories, but I feel like his involvement's very small at this point, but I really liked this book. So far, the Spawn has been cranking up the heat. They're good, classic, fun, extreme 90s comic books, and they're pretty violent, and they're really getting into the core of what makes Spawn works, and Gunslinger Spawn is one of the most intriguing characters in that whole thing. Then we have King Spawn, issue number 3, finally out this week. Supposed to come out last week, it's out this week. Really like this book as well. The return of Billy Kincaid. What is the title King Spawn about? We're getting more and more about that. This book, by far, to me, has been the darkest, the most gnarly out of all the Spawn books. They've really been leaning in to that horror bend, and it's great Halloween time reading. King Spawn number 3, I loved it. Great developments and some interesting inspection on the relationship between Terry and Al and how that's kind of evolved over the course of the years. King Spawn number 3, though, really liked it. Then we got Ant number 1. This is from Erik Larsen. So Ant was a character that was created by Mario Gully. It had like a short run, then another short run, and then there was like a 12-issue run that just recently wrapped up. Erik Larsen just kind of wrapped it up. And it was a character that had a lot of potential, but never really had quite a cohesive vision going forward, right? So Erik Larsen has actually purchased the rights to Ant and is now kind of doing his own version of this character. I'm not super familiar with what's come before, and I liked it. I thought it was fine. Like, I've never necessarily been the biggest Erik Larsen fan, or at least growing up when he was working on Spider-Man, when Savage Dragon started, but I have found more of an appreciation for the Image founders, their styles, and what in particular, what they do and how big of a deal that was. So I wanted to check this one out, and I liked it. It had nice dynamic energy to it. I found the story to be decently intriguing. It's not going to change your life, but I liked this kind of throwback to a more old school superhero type approach that also still felt fresh and new, but very old school at the same time. Ant number 1, I thought was pretty solid. Then we got Nita Hawes' Nightmare Blog, issue number 1. This is from the team of Philadelphia. That was a book that I kind of slept on early on, so I've been hearing good things. I wanted to jump on this one. Love the artwork. Great horrific artwork. There's a nice, cool premise here. It's about a world that's been invaded by demons. So this woman is got a blog. She's trying to, like, prove to people she's haunted by her, like, dead brother. But it just never pulled itself together for me. It kind of felt dull. It kind of just meandered around, and it didn't ever really hit a punch, except for when the punch would hit because of the artwork. The artwork was super solid, but the story just, there wasn't quite enough here for me to sink my teeth into. Hellcop, issue number 1, is also out this week. This is from Brian Aberlin, Gerard Van Dyke. This one was all right. The artwork was decent. Usually this dude's artwork usually can feel, it uses a lot of like computer digital effects, and sometimes it makes it feel a little bit stagnant, but sometimes it's also got this energy to it. This one felt a little bit more stagnant, very stiff, and the story didn't really move along. It's an interesting enough premise. This is the resurrection of a comic book from the 90s, Hellcop. So it's about this, they're hell cops. So there are other dimensions. The first dimension humanity finds, it's more like hell, and now there's like beings coming across, and it's about the people that police that kind of stuff. But the book has an interesting concept, interesting enough characters, but it kind of plods around, and it never really quite turns it up. Never quite turns it up and gets punchy enough to really make an impact or an impression. So I was looking forward to reading this, and I was kind of let down on that one. Then we have Echolands, issue number 3. This book is awesome. The story's actually starting to be a little bit more coherent. They're starting to introduce more of these characters. You're starting to understand how these characters reflect their different artistic styles that J.H. Williams is portraying. Of course, it's panoramic. It is beautiful. There's some nods to Kirby in this one in particular. I love the book. First of all, it is some of the best artwork you will ever see on the comic book, right? Best, like seriously, the artwork is amazing, the coloring is brilliant, the lettering is top-notch, and now the story is starting to get more and more intriguing. Do not read this one digitally. It must be read physically, because that's the only way to really get the full experience of it. It is absolutely gorgeous, and now the story is starting to match the artwork and the lettering and the coloring just as much. Then we got Crossover here with issue number 9. Really like this issue of Crossover. So in the last issue, the detectives Christian and Dina from Powers showed up. So in this one, you kind of get a very Powers themed and oriented type issue. And if you're familiar with Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming's Powers, there was a lot of talking, and there's some references to that, some tongue-in-cheek type stuff. But also at the same time, they go for that style. Donny Cates actually kind of mimics it very well. It's very well done. I liked it. It kind of threw me back into the to the 90s and early 2000s when like I was just digging Powers. Powers was like one of the best things on shelves. Make me want to go dig out my issues and check them out again. Crossover number 9 though, really solid. Moves the story a little bit as far as just the narrative goes. It's kind of building up more of the mystery, but it was a really fun comic book, especially if you are a fan of the Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming Powers run. Plus there's a nice little cameo from Scott Snyder in there. It's pretty interesting. Made in Korea, issue number 5, from Jeremy Holt, George Shaw, Adam Willett. I've been loving this book. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm glad it's back. So Made in Korea is about this world in which most people just can't have children, right? It's just biologically not possible. So they develop these like artificial children that people can buy, and it's like their child, right? Their never-ending child. Well, one of them has some kind of coating in it that actually causes her to become sentient, right? And so now the programmer who installed that code has gone against company policy and went back and gathered her. This character's been through quite a journey. The character is dealing with themes of identity, dealing with themes of freedom, and just humanity. I really like this book. It's really great, solid sci-fi. It's got solid beautiful and intricate artwork, and it's paced and laid out in a very, very exceptional way. Made in Korea is one of the best books on shelves. I hardly hear people talk about it. That book is amazing. Sweet Paprika is here with issue number 4. This is a book about sexual repression. This is a book about hypocrisy. This is a book that's also just trying to be fun, trying to be amusing, trying to actually say something, and at the same time do it with a very whimsical flair. It's Mirka Andolfo. I really like it. It's very tongue-in-cheek, it's a little bit naughty, but it's a lot nice as far as just being able to tell a very serious story in a very whimsical, fun, and exuberant kind of way. This is a book that I'm very surprised that I like it so much. I really, really like Sweet Paprika. It's a little raunchy too, issue number 4. Ain't nothing wrong with that. From Marvel Comics, we got Darkhold Blade, issue number 1. This is just a one-shot, so we got the Darkhold Alpha thing. That'll be wrapping up in the Darkhold Omega. At the end of Darkhold Alpha, it seemed like Scarlet Witch's chosen team had somehow swapped places with like evil, messed up, gnarled out versions of themselves. So in the Iron Man one, we got this like very Cronenberg body horror idea of Iron Man. And what they are is they're just kind of like what ifs, and they're just kind of explaining what this character is. The Blade one was fine. There was a lot of like references and cues to the Blade movie, and I think it actually worked. I kind of liked it as a Blade comic. But introducing this other version of Blade, it was a little weird. There's moments in here that were a little weird, and there are moments that really worked. Artwork could have been a little bit more detailed. It had energy, but it just didn't have enough detail for me. But Darkhold Blade, there's something intriguing about that, and that cover's awesome. I'm pretty sure that's a Juan Ferreira cover, and he's been my pick as artist on my 5-year Blade plan. So if I ever get the option. Inferno number 2 is here. I'm really excited to check this one out, even though the first issue I liked, but I was kind of underwhelmed with it, and I'm kind of underwhelmed here too. It's all right. Okay, so in the last issue, we got the big revelation that Destiny has already been resurrected. This is going to mess up Moira's plans with Charles and Eric and all this kind of stuff going on in the middle. This one, there's a lot of political intrigue. I would have liked all of this stuff. It would just naturally and organically happen over the space of a few issues of, say, Hickman's X-Men run. Being put into this big event where it's only 4 issues, and I'm like, all that's happened so far after 2 issues is one thing. Destiny's back. That's all that's happened. And even the big reveal here at the end, like there's a big dun 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 moment at the end, falls flat, doesn't work. I don't know. Hickman ain't going to be wrapping anything up in two issues. I just feel like, I don't know. It was all right. It was fine, but I was underwhelmed. Let's just say that. Moon Knight number 4, though, completely overwhelmed me. I love this book. This is one of Marvel's best books on shelves right now. Jed MacKay is able to have a very new school style of writing, but still is able to do that old school approach where each issue is part of an ongoing narrative that takes issues to develop, and each issue is also kind of its own thing. So like the Warren Ellis run, each issue was a self-contained story, but it didn't really quite build up to anything. This is building, and they're doing really great work here with the character of Moon Knight. Who's beneath the mask? What is the mental state? And I'm not talking about the dissociative identity disorder. I'm talking about like, what is this dude's state? He is consumed by his mission right now. What is his state? Plus, you got Jigsaw in here. It's nice, fun, classic Marvel action in a very fresh, vibrant, new school way. Love the artwork. Moon Knight slaps. Moon Knight's awesome. Amazing Spider-Man here, issue 77. It's losing me. 3 issues into this Beyond story. It's losing me. It's losing me because this is a bunch of people freaking talking and just a little bit of action. So you get a little bit of an action scene at the beginning, and you get one kind of at the end, but most of this issue is just talking and nothing exciting or interesting. So it kind of felt boring. So I felt like this was a rather boring issue of Amazing Spider-Man that didn't do anything new. But we'll see. You know, it's damned weekly. And guess what? In case you missed the bulletin, we're getting more of those point whatever crap issues. Daredevil 35 is here, the penultimate issue of Daredevil until it goes into Devil's Reign. This one is kind of wrapping up that lockdown story with all the bullseyes and the Typhoid Mary and Elektra against a bunch of bullseyes, and you got Daredevil kind of trying to do this kind of thing, and it's all right. It's good. It's starting to wrap things up and setting things up, I guess, for Devil's Reign or where that's going to go. There's a big shocking moment. Not so shocking, but there's a moment at the end that's going to be like, what? Okay. Oh, sure. Why not? But the book is awesome. Marco Cicchetto's not doing the artwork here because he's probably preparing to do Devil's Reign. So that's cool. But I like Daredevil. I think it's a very solid book, but it has not been as good as it was in the beginning in recent issues. But of course, we are now gearing up for the big event, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. Then Wolverine, issue 17. Didn't care. Dull. I was like, I have given up on all the X-Men books, except for the Inferno. I'm going to read that. But pretty much given up on all the X-Men books, except for this one. And Hellions. I'm going to finish Hellions out. That's been decent enough. But, Wolverine, which I found very intriguing, has been kind of directionless lately. And I guess maybe it's not that it's directionless, it's just that I don't care. I just don't care. You know, and I want to stick with it because I know Percy's doing the 10 Lives and Deaths of Wolverine. I'm going to check that series out because game-changing moments are coming in the X-Men. Can you believe it? But Wolverine number 17 is, I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm so done. Let's jump over to Boom Studios. And from Boom Studios, we have House of Slaughter, issue number 1, the much-anticipated spin-off from Something is Killing the Children. This is a book that's going to be set more in the past than the current series of Something is Killing the Children. It's going to be dealing more with building up the House of Slaughter and the Order of St. George and what's going on there. And of course, focusing in on this character, Aaron. So they're developing this character who at first kind of shows up and you're like, oh, he's like a little shit. You don't really like him. And then, spoilers, he dies, and Something is Killing the Children. Now we're doing this story that's a little bit of a prequel, and it's like, should I care? And what happens is you do. Like, James Tynion makes this care. Tate Brombaugh is the co-writer on here who wrote the Black Hammer Barbalian series, and I thought was really, really cool. So I really like this one. You got Del Edadera is credited with doing like layouts or something like that, but most of the work is by Chris Sheehan, and the artwork is amazing. This is the artist from Autumnal, from Vault from last year, Miguel Muerto. The coloring ties it all together. We got this nice shiny foil cover, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. What I thought was going to happen with this book was that this book would be kind of the excuse to develop the backstory and do more of the world building for the Order of St. George. And in this first issue, that's what they're doing. But they're also focusing in on this character, on those dynamics with those relationships. And I really liked it. I thought it was super cool. I liked the layouts. I loved the coloring. Everything about it worked. It popped. It wasn't necessarily as hard-hitting as some of the issues of Something is Killing the Children. It moved a little bit slower, but it was actually doing way more world building. Now that we're kind of knee deep into that story, into that world, this is needed. It's fleshing things out. It's adding texture to the story, and I really liked it. I thought House of Slaughter number 1 was super solid. House of Solid. Anyway, Once and Future is here with issue number 21. This book never lets me down. It's a nice, fun Indiana Jones type adventure, but with like a horror bend to it. It's all based on like Arthurian legends and lore and things like that. And we've got like a male Gorgon running around. There's another knight that shows up. The action is incredible. The figure work, the line work, everything about it artistically is amazing. Tamara Bonvillain, Station, won the Ringo Award for Great Colorist because the coloring on this book has always been amazing. Tamara Bonvillain is a hell of a colorist. And Kieran Gillen knows how to do this story. And he's building up to certain moments that you can kind of see the foreshadowing for, and I don't know if I'm ready for it, but Once and Future has been such a solid book, and it has never let me down. Dark Blood is here with issue number 4. I'm liking it. The book kind of structurally goes all over the place, and sometimes it's very jarring when it jumps from one to another, but I'm starting to kind of pick up on the rhythm of it. I think it will read a whole lot better in a trade paperback form, but I'm liking this story. It's about a black soldier from like World War II. He was experimented on. He developed these powers, but then there's another part of the story that's way later on, like 10 years later. He's back home in Alabama. His powers go off when he's being harassed by a white dude. He winds up accidentally killing the white dude, so now he's in deep shit, right? The book is solid. The structure is a little weird to figure out issue to issue, but I think it's going to really read well in trade. There's only 2 more issues to go. Dark Blood's been pretty solid. Let's jump over to DC. We have DC versus Vampires, issue number 1 from James Tynion IV, as well as Matthew Rosenberg, Otto Schmidt doing the artwork. I was worried that this was just going to be like Deceased with vampires. Well, the book is Deceased with vampires, but it works. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was fun. It kind of starts off just like Deceased in a way, and it's got this nice little narrative trick that it's doing. But I like it. It's about a vampire invasion, and vampires take over the DC universe. It's going to be 12 issues from October to October, Halloween to Halloween, right? But I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty freaking cool. The artwork was cool. It had some nice energy to it. And it's centered a lot on the character of iVampire, who I became familiar with iVampire through the New 52 run. I actually liked that New 52 iVampire run. Then I had gotten the trade from some of the stuff in the 70s, where it was like was it House of Mystery or something like that? But that stuff's pretty fun too. So I like that throwback. I liked the setup. I liked how it ended. I liked that book. Then we got Task Force Z. This is from Matthew Rosenberg, Eddie Barrows. I wasn't really feeling this one. So Red Hood's got his own version of the Suicide Squad. And what it is there are these Batman villains that died in A-Day or after A-Day. So Man-Bat, Arkham Knight, Bane, and Bloom. And they're zombies. And Red Hood's controlling them with like Lazarus pills and stuff. And it just felt kind of dumb. And you know, I'm such a fan of Bane. And Bane's so serious. And for Bane to be taken off the board so quickly in A-Day, and I was like, oh, well, Bane's not dead. Bane's not dead. He's the big dude that's in Joker. And Joker's just been not intriguing me. And no, Bane is dead. He's a zombie here. And just no respect for my man. No respect for Bane. Anyway, Task Force Z didn't really work for me. I don't know. I'll give it a few more issues. Batman The Long Halloween Special. So this is a series. It's a one-shot by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. So if you're a fan of Batman The Long Halloween and Dark Victory, I would recommend that you check it out. The artwork by Tim Sale is cool. It's a bit of it's a different style nowadays, but it's still obviously him. But I like the artwork. I thought it was solid. What the book is, though, it's a one-shot. It's not necessarily super needed, but it's nice to kind of go back into this world for a little bit. We just recently revisited Batman Long Halloween, so if you missed that episode of Comics Revisited, it just streamed on Monday night, so definitely check that out. We go deep into the book, the story, the art, and the themes, and all that kind of stuff, but I really liked this one-shot. I thought it was cool. It's set after Dark Victory, probably like the Halloween following Dark Victory. It's like Calendar Man is pissed that he's had all this attention moved away from him because of the holiday killings 2 times over, basically. So he's trying to make his stand. We got Batman still dealing with some of the after effects of Dark Victory, including Robin, and just the way it was set up, it was nice. It brought me back to those days. Of course, didn't hurt that I just reread Long Halloween, so it's not necessarily needed, but it is a nice coda to that entire story of Long Halloween and Dark Victory, When in Rome, and all that stuff, too. And it's got some really nice Gilda and Harvey moments, so I thought that was pretty solid. Aquaman, Green Arrow, Deep Target. All right, so we don't have an Aquaman book. We don't have a Green Arrow book. So why not just go ahead and put the two of them together in a 7-issue miniseries? Okay, all right, I'm down with it. I mean, I like Green Arrow. I love Aquaman. Let's check it out. This book is stupid. This book is so stupid. I was reading it, and I don't want to reveal the twist. I want to reveal the twist. Spoilers. Okay, something's happened. All of a sudden, Oliver Queen can breathe underwater. He's Aquaman, and Arthur can't. And he's Green Arrow. What? It is so dumb. Comes out of nowhere. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't feel connected to anything else that Brandon Thomas or that they're like. Y'all. That book was stupid. Detective Comics 1044. This book's all right. I really love the Dan Mora artwork. That's the best part. The story at times works and sometimes it doesn't. This one is a little bit of a lull, I guess. It's a Fear State tie-in. It's about the mayor. It's his story. He's trapped in the sewers, and so is Batman, even though Batman's also doing like 80 other bajillion things during Fear State. Sure, whatever. We're used to that. And they're bringing back the Vile stuff, and it's got some cool, gnarly kind of moments, but it's not clicking for me right here. I don't really care so much about this mayor story anymore, and I don't know, the book feels a bit derailed, but I tell you what, it's nice to see that Dan Mora, Jordi Bella artwork, I'll tell you that. Wonder Girl issue number 4 is here. You know, I was really hyped on this book. I thought Wonder Girl was one of the best books in the Future State thing, that 2-issue series. Joelle Jones's artwork still pops. The fill-in artist here it's not quite as jarring when the other artist pops in. But the story's I don't know. I mean, the story's okay. You're getting more of a sense of what Hera's plans are for Yara Flor and all of that kind of stuff. And I really do like the character. But the character that was showcased in that Future State book, and I know that that's Future State, but we're not there yet. And I'm not relating to it. And I'm finding it hard to actually care about this book, especially when it is so late and it's not all Joelle Jones's work. Like, I would wait 2 months in between issues if it was all Jones's artwork, and then it would actually help keep my interest, I guess. I don't know. I'm losing interest in Wonder Girl quickly. Robin #7, really liked this issue. So we're getting Mother Soul. What was her name? Is it Mother Soul? Anyway, the big villain, the big person that's running this tournament. So this is about Damian in a Mortal Kombat situation. He's on the Lazarus Island. He's fighting with all these other people, including Connor Hawk, including Ravager, including some new characters. And like Flatline. Flatline's one of them. And what's the other one? Respawn? They're really actually cool characters. And I like the dynamic here. Anyway, Damian's basically on a tournament fight for the death. The winner's going to become immortal. He's trying to uncover the secrets of who this woman who's running this tournament is. He does uncover that secret here. It was pretty intriguing. I thought it was neat. I liked it. And then the ending here, the setup for the next issue, I am down for. I've had a lot of fun with this Robin book. It's been able to do some decent work with the character of Damian Wayne. Like, usually people do Damian as just a very two-dimensional character, but Josh Williamson kind of has his head wrapped around this character, especially in this state, post-Alfred death, going to go on this mission. The introduction of the new characters. I like the book. It's got a nice, fun, youthful, vibrant energy to it, but at the same time, death and destruction and Mortal Kombat. So there you go. We do have an Aquaman book, actually. It's a mini-series called Aquaman The Becoming. And it's the Jackson Hyde book. So it's Aqualad. He's got his own book here. And Aquaman's away on a mission. I guess he's being distracted by being in a really weak book written by the same guy. I really like the first issue of this. And the second issue, what's going on is Jackson's been framed for like an attack or a murder or something like that. And they go and they interrogate Mira. And it's got some okay moments, but it's kind of weird structurally with what they're doing, where they bounce back and forth with the story to fill in. Oh, but then this actually happened. Ha ha ha, see? And it just doesn't quite work for me. There's some interesting developments and fleshing out of Jackson's backstory, and that I appreciated, but it didn't quite have the energy that I really liked in that first issue. From Vault Comics, we have The Human Remains, issue #2 from Peter Milligan, Sally Cantrino, Deborah Kelly, and World Design. Loved this book. I really liked issue #1. It made the pick of the week. This was pretty close to pick of the week as well, because we're introduced to this concept. This book is kind of like A Quiet Place, but instead of sound, it's emotion. Strong emotions. These life forms have come to Earth, and they're attracted to strong emotions. Love, hate, anger, disgust, whatever it is. And they just hone in on it. They find you, and they just tear you the hell apart. They just, you know, that's what they do. And the book, though, some of the criticisms I saw in the first issue was that there was a lot of the concept, but not a lot of the characters. And this one, it's all about the characters. And the work that Peter Milligan does with the characters, the way he does it through the narration of the story, I thought was very masterfully done. Peter Milligan is a veteran in this industry, and you know why when you read this. The artwork is solid. It's very appropriate for the tone of the story. I liked it. Lots of elements and characters are introduced in a very interesting way. I found this book super compelling and very, very strong. Human Remains, issue #2. From Dynamite Comics, we have Dejah Thoris versus John Carter of Mars, issue #4. I'm still liking this book. I do still feel a little lost because I quit reading all the Warlord of Mars and Dejah Thoris stuff. So I do want to kind of get caught up on all of that. But I'm liking the book. It's kind of fun. They have this interesting banter. I'm used to this more romantic side of the Dejah Thoris, John Carter thing. And even though it is, say, Dejah Thoris versus John Carter of Mars, it hasn't really gotten to any of that kind of bit. Dejah's been taken by this, like, dude who's trying to resurrect these, like, elder gods. John Carter comes in, guns a-blazing, but that's all part of his plan. They get captured. Now they're trying to fight their way out. But I like it. It's got action. It's written by Andy Lanning, if I remember correctly. The artwork's decent enough, but the writing is super solid, and I like the book. I'm pretty sure it's Dan Abnett. Did I say Andy Lanning? It's Dan Abnett. Remember they used to work together? Yes, it's Dan Abnett. So there you go. I liked it. Then we got Hatchet, Halloween Tales 3. This is the third one-shot of Halloween Tales. It's the weakest, I'll be honest with you. This one didn't have a story in here that I really liked. The last Hatchet one-shot that came out, it wasn't the last Halloween one. One came out a few months ago. I kind of liked it. It had Hatchet versus Bigfoot. And this one, none of the stories pop. None of them really work. But this is just strictly for super hardcore Hatchet fans. So you can appreciate it for that like I did. But overall, it's going to disappoint. And I hope that doesn't. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that Fright Night book. we'll see. Anyway, Hellboy, the Silver Lantern Club. This one's kind of a disappointment too. You know, Mike Mignola, Ben Stenbeck coming in with Chris Robertson to do a new ongoing Hellboy book. What it is Hellboy and Professor Broom sitting around with Broom's uncle, and he's telling the stories of the Silver Lantern Club. So they're not really Hellboy stories. They're nice. It's a nice little supernatural story. It was fine, but I was just expecting something a little bit different. That being said, though, I'm still going to keep up with it because I do love the Hellboy Mignola-verse. And I did like the book. Sir Edward Grey's a part of it, and the Sarah Jewell. So I liked it, but I was wanting like a new ongoing Hellboy adventure, and this just seems like it's just going to be just a bunch of like short stories. That's fine. That's, for the most part, that's what Hellboy's made up of. From Source Point Press, we have the Winchester Mystery House, issue number 1. This is obviously about the Lady Winchester, whose husband created the rifle company. She historically was known that she was like haunted by these ghosts or whatever. She built that weird Winchester house, had rooms going to weird things and doors going nowhere and things like that. So this is about her being haunted by these ghosts, this guilt, this pain, and causing the house to be built. It's interesting enough. If you didn't really know that story, then it would be very intriguing. But I've watched a lot of documentaries and seen a lot of TV specials and stuff about this stuff, so it wasn't giving me anything really new. But it is a really creepy story. If you're not familiar with the story about the Winchester house and all those crazy rooms and doors and some wild stuff. Cross to Bear, issue number 1 from Aftershock Comics. What is this book? I don't know what to tell you. This book is about, okay, so what I can gather from it, there's this thing called the Order. They're in the Old West. They're hunting down some murderer. It might be Jack the Ripper. I don't know. But they're the Order, and they're descendants of the Crusaders. I guess that's it. There's a lot of verbiage in here. It's very verbose. There's a lot of exposition, and it didn't clearly tell me anything about what to expect or want out of this book. No hook, nothing. This is not how to do an issue number 1. I did not like that one, and I don't recommend it. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. Some really solid books, some clunkers, and some decent stuff in there, but it was some good stuff. Out of everything, though, what are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and check us out over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcast blogs and a whole lot more. I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Station. Keep on reading.